My friends, I have something to tell you today, but I'm afraid some of you aren't going to like it. But stick around till the end, because I'm going to give you a secret that's really going to help you out, whether you're a male or a female. Now, normally when I do these videos, I'm speaking to men because the audience is primarily male. But on the previous video, I got a very good question from a female viewer. Now, this woman, it seems, is from the Philippines, and that presents a unique set of challenges on its own. But that would be a separate video. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to keep things very general, and a lot of what I talk about, it's going to apply more to the Western world than it does to the Far East. And in the previous video, I gave a suggestion where men can go to find good women, and she asks, but Travis, where can a woman go to find a good man? Well, ladies, I'm afraid a lot of you aren't going to like my answer, but it is the truth, so I'm just going to give it to you straight. The reality is, it could be very hard for you to find a good man. Some women are never going to be able to find a good man. But why is that? Well, first you got to know a bit about the laws in the United States, and most Western countries are set up this way. The way these laws were set up was they were enacted a long time ago when the culture was different. In the old days, the man would go to work, he would provide for the family, and women were typically stay-at-home moms. Their job was to raise the kids. And now, if those two people got divorced, it made sense that the guy should have to pay some alimony to her to help support her afterwards, since she made that sacrifice. But things are very different today. Women are encouraged to go out and have careers. Most households are two-income families. And now, if a man gets divorced, he's going to have to pay that woman potentially for the rest of his life. These laws primarily affect men. Sure, there's exceptions to the rules, but we're not talking about J-Lo, we're not talking about Britney Spears. Those are exceptions to the rules. Most of the time, these laws negatively affect the man. With prostitution, it's paying someone you had sex with. With alimony, it's paying someone that you used to have sex with, and those payments may never come to an end. You could have to pay those payments until you die. So now you see a lot of situations where two people get divorced and the woman doesn't want to be cut off from that alimony, and if she gets married, those payments come to the end, so you'll see her getting a boyfriend that she'll even live in with, and the ex-husband has to fund the whole thing. Now, I'm not saying alimony should be eliminated entirely. It might be fair that if she gives up something to be with you, that you do have to pay her alimony, but it should be something to help them get on their feet. Maybe alimony for 6 months, a year, 2 years tops, and if they can't take care of themselves in that amount of time, well, then they should be on their own. The guy should no longer be responsible. And what a lot of people don't understand is when they get married, they're entering into a business contract and they're getting the government involved. If that ever needs to be dissolved, well, the government's going to divvy things up, and it's probably not going to be fair. This is why you have these new movements and philosophies like the men going their own way movement. I don't agree with that movement, but it's entirely understandable why you have guys that want to do that and don't want anything to do with marriage. Number two, they say chivalry is dead, as it should be, but why is it dead? Well, it was killed by feminism. You can't go around saying, treat me like an equal, and then also expecting special treatment. That's not going to work. Society has encouraged women to have these feminist attitudes, and women that have more traditional attitudes, those women are shamed by other women. And usually feminism, it's not really about women being able to do things and have careers. Most men would actually be for that. It's actually about an us versus them, women versus men attitude. So the whole thing is very negative, and it puts women on the offensive the way they look at men, and a lot of men, they don't want to get involved with women like that. And even though it's not a bad thing for a woman to have a career or a job, the bottom line is most women would probably actually be happier being a stay-at-home mom. But modern society has encouraged this, which really destroys the family unit being the bedrock of society. Now, who's responsible for society encouraging the end of the family unit being the bedrock. Well, I have my philosophies, my theories, but those could be politically incorrect. And as we all know, the way this site has gone lately, you have to toe that line of political correctness. So I'd better not say. You can leave me your thoughts in the comments section though. It's funny because I watch a lot of movies and TV shows about heroes. Lately I've been watching a lot of Baywatch because that's been on TV a lot lately. And society calls people heroes that saves lives. But I think they should also recognize that you can also be a hero, not just by saving a life, but by creating a life. And there's something very admirable about a mother or father doing their best to create a child and then raise that child to be the best it could possibly be. Now, don't give up hope, because there's still things that you can do to meet the person that's right for you. First of all, whatever you're into, go to that type of place. If you're into health and fitness, go to the gym and meet someone with similar interests. And even internet dating, I don't think it's bad, especially for older people, say 35 to 70. There's ways for people to meet good people online. Now, of course, there's always that concern. If they shopped around and found me online, you might be concerned that they might be doing that for other people. But here's the real secret, that it doesn't matter if you're male or female, this is going to really help you out. If you want to attract a good person, you have to be a good person. You can't go around acting and being a loser and expecting to have the results of a winner. Whatever you want to get in life, you're going to get back whatever you're currently being. So my friends, I really hope you think about what I said in this video and actually take it that step further and put it into action. And remember, there's two types of people out there: those of you that disagree with me and those of you that are right. Now, let's get into This Ugly Truth Will Upset Women, Part 2. Now ladies, I want you to know, I'm not here to attack you. I'm not here to beat you down. I want you to know that what I'm gonna say is coming from a place of love and caring, and you might disagree with me, and that's okay, but maybe it's gonna give people some new perspective. And ladies, here's something that you're not gonna wanna hear, but the truth is, you're brainwashed. Now, as guys, we are too. We're not immune to this too. We have maybe a little bit of a different type of brainwashing, but how are you brainwashed? Well, things aren't the same as they used to be. This isn't the old days where you turn on the TV and you see Leave It to Beaver and you see all these positive images of what families and male-female relationships are supposed to be. These days, you're turning on the TV, what are you seeing? You're seeing the Kardashians, you're seeing dysfunctional families, you're seeing all this dark stuff that doesn't necessarily make you feel good. Now, this has been going on a long time. I was recently watching the show Who's the Boss? And by the way, this is kind of a crappy show looking at it in modern times, and it's so blatant that so many episodes are just blatant propaganda. But anyways, I was watching this one episode and the plot involved one of Tony's relatives from Italy, and he was a businessman, and he was bringing over a woman from Italy that he was planning on marrying. All he wanted was a traditional woman that would love him, cook for him, and bear his children. But what happened is, this woman comes over from Italy and she gets involved with the modern 80s American women, and they start to get in her head and they tell her, well, you don't want that. That's not going to make you happy. That's not going to make you fulfilled. No, you want to dress like this and you want to have your own career. That's the way to happiness. Really? That's the way to happiness? Especially when your husband's already successful and this guy's willing to pay for you so you don't have to work, and your job is to be a stay-at-home mom and raise the kids. What could be a more fulfilling job than raising children? That's something that could affect people for generations to come. Now, by no means am I against a woman having a job or career, and most men are not against that at all. But what's happened is you've had a select group making these shows trying to tell you that a strong woman does this. And in America, feminism isn't really about women having equal rights and being able to do stuff too. All men I know would be all for that. what it's become about is being bitchy. They've told you that the way to be a strong woman is to be bitchy and bust the chops of your husband. You don't need men. You don't need to live a traditional lifestyle. And they trash that as if those women aren't also strong. If there's anyone that should be on your side, it should be your spouse. And today things, of course, are much worse. The shows have gotten much darker, much seedier. The families are much more dysfunctional. And of course now with the internet, things are so much worse. The internet ideally should be something that we can communicate with each other, but we're getting heavily censored. There's videos that were on YouTube years ago and now they're being removed for being called hate, which is very subjective. There's a select, just like there's a select group of people making these TV shows, trying to tell you how you should live, how you should think. Now we have YouTube and all these internet platforms very censored with something that's totally subjective, where people are saying these ideas and saying we need to get rid of hate, but they're not removing these things like these vloggers showing you these glamorous lifestyles, which is maybe going to make you hate yourself. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with those people either, but is what I want you to do is think for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the point of this. The first step to thinking for yourself is realizing that there's people that are trying to tell you how to think. There's a natural cycle to life where things get better and better, stronger and stronger, till they reach a point where they peak. And then from there, they start to go down, down, until eventual death. I remember when I was doing sports growing up, when I was 13, 14, 15, and my dad would say, enjoy this time of your life. With each coming birthday, you get better and better, because eventually there's going to come a time in your life where with each birthday you get worse and worse and worse. And this cycle of things getting better and better until they get worse and worse and die, this is true whether you're talking about people, animals, plants, corporations, and there's probably no better example of that than MySpace. Look at how big that got. But now look at it, it's basically dead. And what you see a lot, especially in very superficial places like Los Angeles, you see a lot of young ladies and some men that they bank very heavily on their looks and their physical attractiveness. And there's nothing wrong with being good looking. We should be trying to make ourselves look as good as we can. But when you put all your eggs in that basket, what you see a lot is young people, they don't really think about the future and they don't really anticipate that change that's going to come in life. So you see a lot of young ladies that they have the world is their oyster, and there's men that will take them out, spend money on them, buy things with them, but then they get to a point where they reach their expiration date. A lot of women don't realize that they have a sell-by date, which is usually around 30 years old, where they get less and less appealing to men from a point of physical beauty. I used to have a very successful modeling career, and I saw this a lot. I'd work with a lot of very successful female models, and by the way, female models generally get paid a lot more than male models, which kind of throws that gender pay gap myth right out the window. But anyways, these female models, they would have these great careers and have the life, but what would happen is when they get to about 23, 24, 25, they were kind of looked at as old and people didn't want to hire them anymore. Now at least with men, they can keep working as models and just kind of transition into a different type of model and generally have more longevity at least. So what am I saying to you? What's your point? My point is you have to find a way to make yourself more valuable. Now generally this isn't as big of a problem for men as it is for women, because generally men, they don't bank so heavily on their looks unless they're a professional model or professional actor. Men, a lot of the times, they find other ways for their livelihood that isn't so heavily dependent on their looks. But even with men, the reality is men, when they're generally in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they're not as attractive as they were when they were 25. Now, of course, there's some exceptions to that, where some guy never got much attention and then he becomes a hot silver fox, but that's maybe 1 or 2% of guys out there. But make yourself more valuable in another way and find a way to find value out of life. A good example example is even on YouTube, that's a very youth-driven thing. There's some very successful YouTubers that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s, but their appeal isn't about just being good looking. It's about having interesting things to say, having interesting ideas that fascinate people and people can learn from. They're providing a very different type of value. And I think what we should be doing as we age and our glory days kind of fade away, that's a time to find a new value in life, provide a new value, and of course pass that along to our children. Spend time with our families, the older generations, but also focus heavily on the future generations. That's something that's going to affect people for decades to come. So my advice to you is find ways to grow and evolve and provide a different value and service as we go on. And definitely focus on your children and the future generations. But you guys might disagree with me, and that's okay. What I'm saying comes to you from a place of love and wanting things to be the best for you, but maybe you think there's a better way to achieve that. Maybe you agree with me, but go ahead, leave your comment down below, and be sure to check out our other videos. We have a lot of stuff on this channel for you. So until next time, my friends. What's my point? What am I saying? Well, the point is you can't put all your eggs in that. There's a fight going on back there, I guess.
They're leaving.
That's how they do it here. You're. I guess that's a little bit of Asian culture for you. The woman takes your seat, you smack her in the head until she gets out. No, don't do that.